We're here at the New York Stock Exchange with Arminio Fraga, former central bank president of Brazil and founding partner of Gavia Investments. Arminio, do you think Brazil is finally hitting the bottom?
It could be, I hope so. There are a lot of things happening at the same time. Some are more structural in nature, longer term, and some are more cyclical. I think the cyclical portion could be finding a bottom within 1 or 2 or 3 quarters. And the other, more important longer-term issues still need to be addressed.
How soon do you think? I mean, could we see a sort of bounce back this year?
Look, if things work out, it should turn this year. It doesn't mean the GDP number this year will be any good. It'll be a substantial decline, but that's kind of the way GDP is calculated. It's an average for the year. But at the margin, you should see some green shoots. You should see a change in attitude. Just because now we have a government that has been talking about the real issues and is really trying to put a number of reforms on the table.
Now, looking at this new government, President Dilma Rousseff is still there. She's facing an impeachment process. Can investors really have confidence that this new government will survive?
There's some chance it doesn't, but I think it's very, very low. It's remote at this point. The case is strong. It's being done, through the legal channels according to the Constitution, following due process, and it's overwhelmingly the case that there are a lot of bad things going on down there, and she's in charge, and some are linked to her directly, so I think expectations are that she won't come back.
Now, you've spoken before about Petrobras needing recapitalization. Is that something that we can look to see happen this year?
I would think so. I mean, the company was a victim of a lot of things. The most obvious one is, of course, it's an oil company, and oil prices have declined substantially, but it was also a victim of government policies that use Petrobras to do sort of, by the way, ill-designed industrial policy. So Petrobras had costs way above its peers for quite some time. And they also used Petrobras as a sort of quixotic and doomed to fail way of holding inflation down, which didn't work, but it did create a hole in the cash flow of the company. So the company does need to raise quite a bit of capital, and I expect they'll do that.
And what effect will that have on the bond markets and et cetera, on the markets when we see that?
Well, bond markets have been improving for a few months already, in a way, kind of seeing ahead at possible change. Bond markets are still stressed, but as soon as they see that the government is capable of delivering, they should calm down some more. Now, it starts with the market for the government's own bonds. The government has a very, very high debt to GDP ratio, and on top of that has also to deal with a very high budget deficit. So that means the debt keeps rising until something is done. So the bond markets are going to keep an eye on that. They are getting paid, because Brazil pays this astronomically high risk premium. Also, something that might take a while to really get back to some sort of normal level. It will require quite a bit of work.
And finally, just putting on your Gavia hat, Gavia has invested alongside some of the big conglomerates in Brazil. Some of them have become involved in Lava Jato. How difficult is it for investors to have confidence that if they invest in Brazil, that they're not going to get dragged into something like this?
Yeah, well, look, the government is all over the economy. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible not to be close, but we made an investment, for instance, in oil and gas that was quite close to Petrobras and to one of the contractors that is under investigation. Turned out to be, of course, a terrible investment. But even in this sector, outside Brazil, the leading companies have also collapsed because oil went from 100 or 110 to $50. So there is an issue. I think in a way, this is part of the Brazil risk. It's something one has to be careful about, no doubt.